All right, we're back. Brand new Cabral Concept going over if you should get a colonoscopy or not. And if so, when and at what age? So let's go over all of that here today. This is a popular topic with all of the natural cancer prevention and cancer-based screenings that we talk about in High Performance Health. So what I want to do is share this topic high level with all of you here today, share the pros and cons. If you do decide to get one, at what age, how often, and then what do you do about the potential side effects? So let's dive into that here today. What I want to share with you right now, though, is that colorectal cancer screening, so called either a colonoscopy or colorectal screening, is one of the few areas in medicine where we don't actually just detect, but you can prevent cancer, right? So one of the most preventable ways to do this is finding it in the first place. I'll talk about a full body MRI and how it stacks up in just a moment. But a colonoscopy is not always the first thing anyone should do. So we'll talk about that. And also what I want to do is I want to share with you the different guidelines as to, it is an invasive procedure. So when should you start doing this and who is it most beneficial for? What I would say is that this particular screening, if you've never heard about it before, a colonoscopy, usually you're under local anesthesia. So you're put on a sedative. And what they do is they are literally putting a camera up your rectum, so in your anus, all the way through your colon. And I've got my buddy here, if you're watching this on video, Walter. And so you're literally, this is your sigmoid or the end of your colon right here. And the camera is going to go inside of the anus. Again, you are sedated. It's going to go up and it is going to look, you have a clean colon because you've done a laxative-based protocol. I'll talk about that. And the camera goes all the way through. What's it looking for? Something they call polyps. And so you have about 5 to 6 feet of colon. They're going to look for, they'll look for other things too, like diverticulitis, diverticuli. They will look for inflammation, maybe mucus production, but mainly they're looking for polyps. And those polyps look like little mushrooms, little tumorous growths inside of the colon. Now, this is the clearest picture you can get, is literally putting a camera inside and moving through to see if there are any polyps. Now, what happens if you have a polyp? This is where the preventative care goes in. Well, they actually have the ability to snip that polyp right then and there. So this allows them to remove and potentially analyze the polyp itself, cancerous, not cancerous, benign, etc. And now that tumor has been removed. Or again, it could be benign, but still they're removing it. That's one of the nice things about a colonoscopy is that they can do the work then and there if, of course, the tumors aren't too large. Hopefully they don't find those. So I'm going to share with you what I do in just a moment. But this is really precision-based and it is the most in-depth. A full body MRI, let's just talk about the difference. The nice thing about a full body MRI is it's looking head to toe. I do it every single year. I don't take years off. Many people, if they get a clean result, can just do it every 3 years. They don't need to do it every year. I'm doing it every year because of genetics, family, healthcare issues, etc. And I just want to know. That's it. I don't want to take a year off and be like, oh, I should have tested, right? So, but I'm also fortunate that I'm able to afford it. And I get it that it's not affordable for everybody. The price is coming way down, but I get it, right? So maybe every 3 years you can do it. All right. So colonoscopy though, well, let's cover the full body MRI. The full body MRI will look for colon-based cancer. So it will actually look for that. Here's the interesting thing. A full body MRI will look for colon cancer, but a colonoscopy will find it when it's smaller, right? Very, very small. And you may not know this, but some colon-based cancers, the tumors don't grow up, they grow flat. If you've ever seen certain types of mushrooms that grow flat against the tree or flat against the grass, not like the toadstool mushroom, those are the ones that are difficult to detect on a full body MRI. So the colonoscopy, they'll find those. That's one of the benefits as well. So again, I like to always share the truth. So I'm just sharing you the truth. Now, let's talk a little bit about the downsides. A colonoscopy, you need to use a specific prep that universally nobody likes. It is a laxative-based drink that you're essentially doing in fasting for the day before. What is this drink? Is it toxic? Let's cover that. It is called polyethylene glycol. Sounds pretty gross, right? Polyethylene glycol, PEG. But what it mostly is electrolytes that are not absorbed by the body and that draw fluid into your bowels. So what this does is it takes water from your body, brings it into your colon through osmosis, right through the cell wall of the colon, and then it flushes it. So you are having multiple bowel movements the day before, usually loose stool, to remove everything from the colon. And you have to do that. Don't go into a colonoscopy saying, I'm not going to do the drink because I think it's toxic, all that. They will send you home. And now you just wasted a day off from work or whatever you needed to do because you didn't do the prep. If you're going to do the colonoscopy, you have to do the prep. But I'm here to share with you that all that drink that you're taking really stays inside of the body, right? It stays inside the digestive tract and it's bringing water to have that bowel movement. So the nice thing is that it's not overly toxic. That's the nice thing about it. Now, does it remove a good amount of bacteria from your colon? Yes. But after you do your colonoscopy, you can take a good clean gut probiotic or daily probiotic support or your favorite sauerkraut, etc., right? And you can start to repopulate the gut, and that's okay. So I'm not as against that, but again, it's tough on the bowels. Don't get me wrong. Like you're going through that. And the second is that you're under a sedative, right? So you are under anesthesia. However, again, it is a local anesthesia. It's nothing overly harsh on the body. There's also no radiation. It's a virtual-based CT where they have a camera inside giving the feedback back to the machine, which is in real time with your, I don't know if it's called a radiologist who's running the colonoscopy. I've actually never thought about that before, who actually performs the colonoscopy. Well, someone can write it in the comments, whether it's a radiologist or not. There's no radiation. I don't know. It's interesting. But someone who runs a colonoscopy, some doctor that runs a colonoscopy. So that's what we're looking at. And so now let's get down to brass tacks. Should you run this? Well, if you've ever run a stool test, and it's come up positive for occult blood, it's a good idea. Now, again, that could just be hemorrhoids, don't get me wrong, but a good idea to run it. If you've done the FIT test, the fecal immunotest, and it was ever positive, you can run a colonoscopy. I'm going to be talking about this in high performance health on the next workshop, but most people should probably do a colonoscopy starting at 45 years old. Family history, you can do it earlier. Now, the nice thing is this, at 45 years old, if you get a great result, no polyps, clean bill of health, no pun intended, you probably don't need to do it again for 10 years. But the average recommendation is every 5 years, starting at 45. It used to be at 47 or 50, but they're bumping back to 45 because colon cancer does happen in younger people. So I am now later 40s, right? And so I'm going to actually do my first one. I had one done when I had all my health issues in my 20s. I had this done at like probably 19 years old or 20 years old or so. I don't have fond memories of it. I still remember it, but I will be running my first one and I'll let you know how it goes as well. Hoping it's no big deal. There's very little risk to it. There is a risk. The major risk is colon perforation. So that's using the camera and it perforates your colon. That's a problem, but it's very rare. But I do want you to know there are certain risks. Okay, so if you have a clean result, may not need it for every 10 years. But by the time you hit 60 years old, probably every 5. After 75, they typically say no need to do it again if you've always had a clean result, especially since colon-based cancer is typically slow growing. So they figure if you make it to 75, 85 years old and you don't have anything, even if something started to grow in 5 or 10 years, it's not going to be the thing that ends your life. But what I would say is this, in my high performance health group, we hope to live 100 healthy years, maybe longer. Amazing, great. But like, that's what we want. So in our group, we're probably still going to do it at 80 years old, right? Because you still hope to live another 20 years, right? At 90, okay, maybe then you can stop. So it's something to think about. This is debated. It's hotly debated in the natural health-based field, not debated at all. In the conventional field, it's just, these are the protocols. This is what you do every 5 years. If you get a clean bill of health, maybe 10 years. So that's up to you to decide what works best for you. If you do have some level of polyps okay, well then your doctor is going to give you a recommendation to test every 3 to 5 years. And then when there's no more growth, you can then be on, instead of every 3 to 5, every 5 to 10. And then, you'll probably be at an age that you just do it every 5 years anyway. So hopefully that was helpful. First of all, it's just understanding your risk, your family history, understanding the difference between a full body MRI, which really I believe is the most important, and then what a colonoscopy is. A colonoscopy is generally covered by insurance, especially after the age of 45 years old. You do have to use the PrEP, but now you know it's not typically toxic to the body. It just draws in water. There's local anesthesia, so you'll be a little bit groggy that day, typically out of work. You're not going to feel that well. For 3 days, it's basically light eating before, fasting with the laxative, and then light eating the day of your colonoscopy. Don't have a heavy meal after your colonoscopy, even though you might be hungry. Have a gentle smoothie, maybe a little bone broth or soup, some fruit, work your way back into it. The next day, you can go back to normal eating, but again, get your medical advice from your medical doctor based on how your colonoscopy went. And that's it. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully that answered, should you get a colonoscopy, yes or no, the pros and the cons. If there's any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And as always, if this was helpful, do feel free to share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. Take care, buddy. Have an amazing rest of your day.